I was bragging about my ex's size to my daughter, not knowing he was listening to everything I said. Has this ever happened to you, that a private conversation between a mother and daughter led to the breaking of an entire family? Well, it happened to me, and here I am to share all the details with you about it. It all started at a party for my birthday, and after that, it's been downhill all this while for me. No wonder people say that they are always careful, because they believe that the walls have ears. I should have taken it much more seriously so that my life would not have become so disorganized due to something that was supposed to stay within the four walls. Before we get into the main details, let me give you some backstory so that you have an idea what the hell am I talking about. A little about me. My name is Lisa, 50 female, married to Ben, 53 male, for 25 years now. I know it is quite unbelievable to be committed and be in a relationship with just one person. It hardly happens nowadays, as people get divorced left, right, and center after being together for a couple of months. Anyway, we had a decent marriage up until Ben discovered things about me that he was not supposed to. Trust me, it was not a cakewalk being married to a boring person like Ben for so long. We had a daughter very early in our marriage, and I had to then leave my graduation to take care of my daughter. Susan was like a breath of fresh air in my life, since being with Ben was not really something I was looking forward to. As she started growing up, I was becoming more and more aware of my own emotions and needs. As her tantrums increased, so did my demands and the fight within me to deserve happiness. Having a daughter changed the equation between Ben and me in such a drastic way that we hardly had time for each other. Ben would always be busy with work to make sure that we had enough in our lives to be able to live a decent life with our daughter. The time we spent with each other kept declining day by day, and very soon it was as if we talked only about house chores and parent responsibilities. Our relationship was more about taking care of the family and making sure things were in place all the time. It was as if we were never in a romantic relationship ever. The sex had drastically decreased, and there was no alone time ever. It was always how we can spend time as a family, but never about trying to spend some alone time as a couple. I mean, he could have easily made time for just the two of us, but it was clear that he did not want to do it. I had a very friendly relationship with Susan as she grew up. I always tried to keep our relationship friendly so that she would never hesitate to discuss anything with me. When she turned 21, I decided to give her some advice on how to lead life as a lady when you have so many guys hovering over you. We were laughing, discussing our mistakes and the weird guys we dated. It was a trip down memory lane for me. I told her how I was one of the popular girls in college whom every guy wanted to date or bang. She laughed so hard, and it felt like she was just a younger version of me and reminded me of myself when I was her age. The way she acted and treated guys was exactly how I did back then. I did have a lot of options to choose from, and I advised my girl the same, that she had to keep her options open so that she could choose the best out of the lot. We were spending some quality time together after a long time. She shared a story of how she sneaked her boyfriend into her room when she was 15, and they had sex while we had no clue what was happening. Since she was being so open about it and we were bonding like friends, I decided to share a few of my stories as well, which might help her to open up much more. I thought of not judging her and letting her speak to her heart's content. I knew that this would only strengthen our bond and let me get an insight on what's going on in her life. I wanted to let her know that her secrets were going to be safe for me, and she did not have to think twice before she could speak to me. I was telling her about my ex, who I had been dating a few years ago. She looked shocked to know that I was cheating on my husband, but she did not seem to be bothered or shocked by my revelation. I continued and told her that obviously Ben had no clue about it. We both laughed about it and made fun of how Ben was such a simple person. I continued to tell her about the details of it. He was hot, young, and very attractive. I met him at the cafe where he was working as a barista. I started seeing him often, and we started sharing glances. I gave him my number once, as I knew that he was even interested in me. Very soon, our talks became sexual, and we started making out when he got off work. Initially, it was just in the car or a quickie in the washroom, but he soon told me that he might get into trouble for missing work. We were getting hungry for each other, and the 15 to 20-minute sessions were not enough anymore, so we decided to spend some more time and have enough time to enjoy sex like we wanted to, without any time limit in mind. He was so good at what he did, and how he made me feel that I realized why I enjoyed having sex with him. His size was much bigger than Ben, and I knew that this was exactly what I was missing in my life. Ben had a small dick and did not even want to experiment new things to compensate for it. We did have a good run for about 3 months, and then the excitement faded. He then met someone else who was close to his age, so he then decided to end his fling with me. I was a little hurt for a while, but then I knew that I had to move on and find someone else to satisfy my needs. It was difficult to move on in the beginning, as I was mostly the person who would call off things with all my male counterparts, but he beat me to it. I did sulk for a while, but then I was soon over it when I met someone else who piqued my interest, and then life went out with a new cycle of date, sex, dump, and repeat. Susan looked a little overwhelmed by my revelation, but she was happy that I shared something that was so personal to me by trusting her. We then talked about other things, of how she should get boys off her hook when she is not interested, and so on. We spent the whole day getting to know each other, more than mother and daughter, and had a great time. We decided that we should do this more often so that we can discuss how idiotic men could be. Things were going on as normal, and life continued to be the same with Ben having no clue of what I did behind his back. He had organized a grand event for my 50th birthday. I was obviously excited for the party because I wanted to show off to everyone how much my husband loved me, even after all these years of being married. The kind of person I am, I like the hoo-ha of being showered with gifts and praises to keep me happy. When Ben first told me that he wanted to do something big for my silver jubilee, I was a little confused because he was the kind of person who likes to keep it personal. Maybe after so many hints, he finally got the clue that I enjoyed fancy things and showed off and decided to go with it. I was glad that he finally understood what I wanted after all these years of being together. The day of the event arrived, and I made sure I was dressed for the occasion. I let my daughter pick out my outfit because she was much more into the latest trends. I was a little busy with my new boyfriend. It was great to have a daughter who understood your needs and desires and also helped you cover up your tracks. I was blessed to have a daughter like Susan, who did not judge me for cheating on her father and understood that every woman needs some love and affection from time to time. She was in fact very sweet to me after our conversation that day. Whenever I was in a pickle, I could always count on her to help me out. The event was going on a little dull, but everyone kept telling me how I looked great and hadn't aged much. Ben suddenly announced that he wanted to share something with everyone that he had been wanting to do, but was waiting for the right occasion. I was so hyped up that maybe he was going to propose again and announce that he wanted to remarry me and redo our vows. I had already started planning everything in my head: the venue, the dress, the decoration, everything. I calmed myself down and decided to let him say what he had to say. He called me over so that I could be next to him when he shared this. I knew that this would be the talking point of the entire evening, and I wanted it to be perfect. He started saying something but trailed off and said that instead of just saying things, he wanted to play a recording which would be much better than him saying it, as he did not want to be misunderstood. I was impressed that he even put in efforts to record his proposal, which was way beyond my expectations from him. He had played a recording between me and my daughter, where we were discussing our exes and laughing. It had the confession where I did admit to cheating on Ben multiple times throughout the marriage. It did mention a lot of the conversation where I had been condescending Ben and telling how clueless he had been in this entire relationship. I was pale and started panicking, looking at how the perception among everyone changed about me with every word. Here, everyone was praising me and letting Ben know how lucky he was to have me as his wife, and now Ben had played this and made it awkward for everyone. I could not believe that Ben would go ahead and play the entire conversation as it is, without even hesitating and caring about how people would perceive us, especially me. The entire vibe of the party had changed, and everyone started looking at me like I was a villain of some fairy tale. It was as if I had made a major blunder by cheating on my husband. I could easily spot 10 people who had been doing the same thing to their partners but were making faces at me just because I had been caught. I am sure everyone does this if they are not satisfied with their relationship in whichever way possible. I had also done the same, and people were so fast to judge me for the same shit that even they do, but are not out in the open. The party had become awkward after that revelation. I thought the worst was over, but no. Ben then continued while I was still standing beside him, and revealed that I had been cheating on him with multiple people over the course of our marriage. I had been a good role model for our daughter and encouraged her to do the same. It was as if I was never sorry or even felt guilty for cheating on him. He said that he was not only embarrassed by what I had been teaching our daughter, but also how I was normalizing cheating with her. It was as if telling her that she can have a boyfriend, but also goof around with other people if she was not happy in her relationship. He then said that the last and final thing he wanted to do was ask me to get out of his and his daughter's life, as he did not want my evil influence and aura around them. I was looking at Susan to see if she would come to my rescue, but to my surprise, she also looked embarrassed and wanted no part in all this mess. I understood that maybe it would be difficult for her to take my stand in front of all these people, jumping to judge anyone and everyone who they think do not have a moral compass. Obviously, the party was over, and people started leaving. This was not the kind of party that I was expecting. Everyone, including Susan and Ben, had left, and I was still reliving what Ben had said in front of everyone. I still did not understand what I had done so wrong for Ben to abandon me after being together for 20 years. I had taken all his bullshit for all this time and adapted to his way of life without any whining. What if I had a little fun along the way to keep me entertained? At least I did not try to get a divorce and rob him off his property like some gold digger. I stood by him all this while as a reliable partner and raised my daughter in the best possible way. I mean, it is not my fault that I enjoy having sex. If one partner is not that interested in having sex and has sex just for the heck of it, obviously it's so unfair to the other partner. Ben was not the kind of person who enjoyed sex, and I would always have to coax him into having a good time. The amount of effort I had to put in was exhausting. I was not asking for much, just sex a few times of the week. It was not that difficult. People do make time for sex all the time, even if they are tired. So being tired was a bullshit reason for him to not have sex. After having a baby, things changed much more. My sex drive had increased, but his had drastically declined. I had no choice but to figure out other ways to please and satisfy myself. I did feel bad that what I was doing was wrong, but Ben left me no choice. He became much more distant than he was earlier. I waited for almost 20 minutes before Ben came and asked me to leave. He said that he did not want to deal with me and took his time so that I would get the clue and leave. Since I did not understand what was happening, he decided to come and spell it out for me. He said that Susan and him were happy without me and wanted me to leave them alone. They had already moved on with their lives and wanted me to do the same. He said that only a shameless person like me would show up like this after spewing all that venom as if nothing happened. I told him that he got it all wrong. I just wanted a little happiness for myself. My way of looking for it might have been wrong, but my intentions were never to abandon my family. I then realized that this might be something that I could not undo, so I decided to truly apologize and that I wanted things to go back to normal. He laughed at my illusionary life that I was living and said that it was over between us. He does not want to be with me anymore and that he had seen enough of my true colors. Ben told me that how could I even live all this while with so much of poison inside me for him and our daughter? I said that it was not negative emotions. I just found a way to work around my emotions. I don't feel that cheating on him was something I did which was a crime. I just fulfilled my sexual needs when he wasn't available or interested in them. It was not like I don't love him or I don't want to spend the rest of my life with him. The only thing is that he sucks at sex. I tried to talk to him about it, but he always dismissed it, stating that I was running on overdrive due to being sleepless and all I needed was rest. Comment on, I know when I need rest, sleep, or sex. How can you tell me what my body needs? I think I know my body better than what he thinks I need. I realize that I need to be happy in all aspects of my life, including sexually, to lead a decent life with lasting relationships. After the event was such a failure, we did have a heated conversation at home about it. There were lots of whys and whens that needed answering from my end. I did answer them truthfully. I told Ben that taking care of a baby all by myself was getting too much. Susan was a very fussy baby, and it was getting on my nerves. I needed an outlet, which was sex. When Ben wasn't available for it, and I was desperate, so I chose a path that I should not have chosen. Very soon, I started enjoying it. And just like that, I don't know when I became addicted to the idea of having sex outside of marriage. I could see the pain in his eyes upon learning that I had been doing this behind his back for almost 20 years without him realizing it. I was a new mom and needed all the love and support that I got. Here I was stuck with a husband who was so scared of physical contact after I gave birth as if I was poisoned ivy or something. I was dreading with sleepless nights and a baby who constantly would cry through the night and make my life a living hell. If I needed some outlet for my frustration and wanted to have sex, I don't think there would be anything wrong. But no, Ben was always worried about our daughter, but not about his wife who was dealing with most of the shit. I guess that was when I knew that I had to take control of my own life and forget about having morals if I wanted to be happy. Clearly, I was the only one thinking about my happiness. Everyone else would just tell me how to be a good mom and a good wife. Hello, what about my happiness? No one ever started seeing me as a person, but just a wife and mother, which was getting on my nerves. The first time I had an affair was solely for sex. It felt so good to relieve all the stress that came with taking care of a baby. After that, it just became a part of my life. Whenever I was dealing with a stressful situation, I would hook up with someone and de-stress myself. My life was the same at home without much changes. I was a loving wife and a caring mother, always available for my family. Never once did I let my affairs affect my married life. I feel like Ben and Susan should be thankful to me for always being there whenever they needed me, even if I was going through a rough patch. No one thought about that and blamed me so easily. I never wanted to be that person who broke marriages for my own happiness. I feel that I did everything I could to keep this family intact by burning myself out, even if I was unhappy. Susan was obviously disgusted by learning the fact that I wasn't very happy with her when she was a child. The only difference was that I was being truthful about my emotions, unlike other women who don't tell you how much they miss their life and wish that they did not have kids. But here I was being judged for spitting facts. I knew that she was not expecting me to say all these things, but if she was willing to judge me for cheating on her father, then she also should have the heart to learn about the circumstances which led to it. Ben and Susan had planned against me and did not want me in their life, so I would rather tell them the truth before I would be banished from their lives. It was more like getting even with them for blaming everything on me. My daughter, who was my biggest support, but now even she had abandoned me after knowing why I had to do what I did. She told me that she was proud of me and I was her role model while growing up, but after knowing the entire story, she feels that I had wronged her father. I was devastated by her sudden switch in emotions. How come she developed this moral compass and feels bad that I had cheated on Ben all these years? Just until yesterday, she was siding with me and making fun of Ben for being so out of touch with what was happening right under his nose. Now she looked all upset and even condemned my actions and how unfair it was for Ben to still be together with me after all that I had done. I expected her to at least understand me and see things from my perspective, but no, she was behaving as if I committed a serious crime. I don't know why people think that they are all saints, while everyone who did something wrong to them had no reason to do it. I am sure they have a good reason to do what they do. Maybe you don't give them enough time and love, and even after repeatedly reminding you about it, you make no changes. So it leaves them no option but to find whatever is missing in their life elsewhere. When finally the person is starting to feel happy and fulfilled, you come and throw a bomb on them that they are morally wrong, and why did they do this to you? Like seriously, did you even listen to anything that they said when they were complaining to you about the same thing? I did tell him that it was not always affairs. Sometimes it was one-night stands or just a spur-of-a-moment make-out session with a stranger. It all depended on what I was dealing with at that time. I did have a few long-time affairs with a few men who were great at satisfying me sexually. I would make excuses to sleep over at a friend's house or go on a weekend trip with friends so that I could go out with my lovers and have some time away from Ben and Susan. It was like a mini holiday I was gifting myself for dealing with all the shitty things in life. I felt like I deserve a break occasionally from all the exhaustion of taking care of a baby and a house. I know what I did was wrong, but I don't regret any of it. I feel like I deserved a shot to be happy. I found a way for it, and I took a shortcut to happiness, even if it meant putting my relationship on the line for it. I am sure that all this anger and judgment is just temporary. Things will simmer down, and slowly but surely, Ben and Susan will come around and things will get back to how they were. I believe that with time and effort, relationships will heal, and my perspective would be understood. I know that trust takes time to build, but what I am looking for right now is for them to see things by putting them in my shoes. I believed that I had done nothing wrong, and all my affairs had known about the fact that I would always prioritize my family above it. I just wanted an outlet to vent out my anger and frustration. This feels like a remedy, and I feel a lot better after putting it down. It is a relief that I was able to share my feelings here and not be judged for it. Update. Let me start off where I left off previously, just to remind you that Ben had asked me to leave the house, and I did. I was very sure that it was only momentary because he was very hurt by the conversation we had. I did take a hotel room and was trying to productively use my time and pamper myself. When I got no response from either Ben or Susan, I decided to go and visit in person. It was my house. Why should I be ashamed or feel an ounce of doubt for going to my own house? I decided to make an appearance, and I knew that they would be missing me terribly and would be clueless without me. I rang the bell and waited, excited with an air of confidence that they would have tears of happiness looking at me. A new face opened the door, and I expected it to be a new helper, since I was the one who would take care of everything in this house. I made my way in while she kept interrupting me and stopping me from stepping inside. I asked to get me a coffee while I waited for my husband and daughter to show up. She glanced at me in a weird way and left without a word. I asked Ben who she was, and he told me that she is the new house help, and there was no reason for me to think that I would be easily forgiven or even allowed to think of a life with them again. I told him that he could not be serious about it. It was a mistake to find a little happiness, and I now realize that it must have hurt him deeply. I told him that I promised to quit all my shenanigans and be loyal to him. I would devote my entire life to him and Susan, but he should promise to take me back. I begged him and told him that I am 50 now, and how could he expect me to start all over again at this age? He told me that I should have thought about it before doing something which I knew would be wrong and unforgivable. He asked me to leave and never show my face again. It has been a month since Ben or Susan have spoken to me. I think I was being too naive when I spoke my heart out, letting them know about my feelings. I knew that they would be hurt, but I never expected them to cut me off completely. When Ben asked me to leave the house, I was very sure that it was a temporary thing. I guess I was too over in my head to think that my family could not function without me. When I introspect and look back, I now realize what I had put at stake for my selfish desires. Maybe if I could go back in time, I would change a few things and do them differently. It was not like I was not happy with Ben or Susan. I just craved love and attention and, most importantly, sex. I should have persuaded Ben and tried to make him understand why having sex was important to me. It was not like he never heard me or understood what I had to say. I was just too drained to explain to him what I was feeling. I should have communicated better, and things would have been different. When I finally realized that things were never going to get better, I broke down and realized that things will never go the way I want them to. I think I would have done things differently. Maybe I should have dealt with my postpartum in a better way and tried to involve Ben in the upbringing of Susan to not burn myself out. Reflecting on that time, I feel like I could have acknowledged that I was struggling and needed some help with dealing with so many changes at the same time. I am now left alone and lonely at the age of 50, with no family or friends that I could rely on. I now understand how realizing things that are important to you too late in life can become a lifelong regret. I regret not making amends and trying to make things work with what I was given to be without being too greedy. I am not the kind of person who should be giving advice, but if there is any takeaway from my experiences, I would just say that don't be greedy and be happy with the cards dealt to you in life. I think that is the most simple and easiest way to be satisfied and happy with life. Thank you all for taking your time to go through my story and support me through my journey.